The New York Mets say they haven't heard the fat lady singing just yet as they try to send a message to first-place Philly that this thing is far from over. This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Baseball fans, gather around and welcome into MLB Game Night. It's every game, every night. I am one of your hosts, JD Hafron from Locked On Cardinals. Joining me, per usual, my man Jon Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels, and a two-time Macarena Dance Contest champion. Up on today's show, so much to get to, guys. Brewers finally facing some tough challenges for once. Did the Dodgers just find another arm for their rotation? Cal Raleigh going for 50 dingers. A huge night for Junior Caminero. And Tarek Skubal tries to tame the offensive juggernaut known as the A's. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets. Now, we're going to begin with the NL East. Phillies at the Mets. Big NL East battle, you guys, with the second-place Mets hosting the first-place Phillies. Now, the Mets, 7 games back coming into this matchup. But we're coming to the end of August. There's still a month left of the season. And this is when a lot of the rival teams are going to start playing each other a lot more. So, obviously, this is going to be a huge series for both sides. Philly ends up jumping out to a 3-0 lead, but it was all New York Mets after this. We got Chris Schubert of the Locked On Mets postcast on the total team effort it took to beat up on the Phillies tonight.
The Mets showed the fight that they had all of last year, facing a 3-0 deficit. They turned it around, 13 unanswered runs to crush the Phillies in the opener of this series, and what a welcomed sight it was to see. Facing a 7-game deficit in the NL East, a bunch of games up against this Philadelphia team, and the Mets did not back down. Didn't get a great start from Kodai Senga, did not let that phase them. They showed up in a big way. Luis Torrens with 5 RBIs. Everybody contributing the 13 runs. Not an RBI from Francisco Lindor, not an RBI from Juan Soto, not an RBI from Pete Alonso. Just a group effort outside of the big three of this team. Mark Vientos continues to swing a hot bat. Tyrone Taylor is swinging a hot bat. The Mets offensively are getting hot at just the right time, and what a great night it was for the bullpen. Basically perfect. 1 walk by Ryan Stanek in the 9th inning. That was it. The only blemish up against this team, and they were needed a lot. Senga only gave them 4. They were great. Ryan Helsley had a great outing, and in a fight with the NL East still right there in front of the New York Mets, they win this opening act by showing that moxie, that poise, that fight that they had all of last year. More of that, please.
All right, so mentioning the Mets players who didn't do much, and then mentioning a couple of the guys who did put up some production here tonight. Unlikely hero, number 9 hitter, Luis Torrens. 3 for 5 with 5 ribbies. Who is this, John? Well, he was their number 9 hitter. 3-run shot off the Phillies fan favorite, Jordan Romano. We know how the Phillies fans love to talk about him these days. You know, Torrens only had 16 RBIs on the season before Monday. So a huge night for him. And that's kind of what it takes. You know, when your big bats aren't coming through in situations, you got to rely on the bit guys. And for the Mets to get that kind of production from these guys and not the headline people, that's a big deal for them. Now, Connor Thomas from Locked On Phillies explains how the good vibes at the beginning of this turned into bad vibes by the end.
The Phillies get absolutely smoked by the Mets in Game 1, a 13-3 final, an all-time bad vibes game. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. Where do you even start with this one? Let's go chronological order. The offense had an opportunity to put the Mets out of it early. Came up small. Bryce Harper's got to put together some better at-bats in big-time spots. Christopher Sanchez was good to start and then completely collapsed, and I don't know if that was under the pressure, but clearly he showed frustration kicking a trash can in the dugout. That was a mess of what looked like a good start. That should worry about big games in October. Then we have the whole microphone gate with Alec Bohm delaying the game 10 minutes by telling people that, there's something in center field making it hard to see. And then Jordan Romano comes to the mound, and he's a guy that should be off this team as soon as possible. Just an overall miserable night in New York, and this Phillies team just can't seem to win at Citi Field. We'll talk more on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
Yeah, Citi Field's been a tough place for almost every team to play at this year. Not easy to win there. Johnny mentioned that, Christopher Sanchez, uncharacteristic type of night for him, 5 in the third, 8 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 3 walks, just 4 Ks. Is first place still possible for the Mets, John? What do you think?
Man, I like the confidence that Chris is rolling with for the postcast.
Yeah.
But look, I looked ahead. There's a 4-game set that starts on Monday, September 9th, between the Mets and the Phillies. I honestly hope it comes down to that series. Now, the Mets have a more difficult schedule between now and then. They're going to face the Marlins, the Tigers, and the Reds. And then the Phillies face the Braves, the Brewers, and the Marlins. Now, I know those NL East teams can get to their own division rivals, so maybe the Phillies might have a tough time with the Braves or the Marlins, but I think the Mets have a little bit more of a difficult schedule considering they're facing the Marlins, the Tigers, and the Reds. But each team has 10 games between this series and the next one in early September. But honestly, the fact that, the Padres and the Dodgers have been going back and forth over the last 2 weekends for first place. Remember how the Yankees went into Toronto. They were in first place, but then Toronto took it after that series and they ran away with it. They've never looked back. When I'm a fan of just baseball, that's the kind of baseball I like, where it comes down to these really crucial series between two rivals. And so I really hope it comes down to that series coming up in a few weeks here between the Mets and the Phillies. I would love to see them battling it out for first place.
If you had to put money down, who do you think wins the NL East? You like Philly now that they've lost Wheeler, a massive blow to the rotation, or do you think the Mets can heat it up and overcome everything they've gone through to take the lead?
Yeah, with the Mets, there has just been so much up and down with the offense that we've heard this story before, right? Like, hey, it wasn't the big three, it was everybody else, and that's great, and I think that's good baseball. But I think the Phillies are just the more consistent team, especially even though they lost Wheeler, they've still got Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola is coming around, right? So I still think they have a chance to be the better team at the end of the day.
Yeah, Jesus Luzardo, another arm in there where, you can see him so good sometimes, and then other days you're like, what happened to him all of a sudden? So we'll see who gets more consistent near the end. Moving on to the Diamondbacks at the Brewers, top team in the league, against one of the more disappointing teams in the league, in my opinion. I thought the Diamondbacks were set up to have a really good season this year, but injuries to that pitching staff really derailed those ideas. Brandon Woodruff on the bump for Milwaukee against one of Arizona's big free agent signings back in 2023. That really hasn't worked out very well. And Eduardo Rodriguez. We got Chuck from Locked On Brewers on what he deemed a bit of a stressful game for his brew crew.
I can sense there was a little tension in Brewer Nation tonight when that 6-0 lead got melted down a little bit. Hey, everybody, Chuck Freeman, Instant Reaction, Locked On Brewers. It was an odd start from Brandon Woodruff. He had a 6-0 lead, gave up 1 hit through the first 5 innings, and then the 6th inning, he couldn't make it out of it. Gave up 5 runs, gave up a 3-run home run, and then the bullpen with Ashby and the rest, Mears, Uribe, closed out this game with McGill unavailable, and the Brewers get the win. Durbin hits an insurance home run. Monasterio also gets yard. But I could just feel the anxiety in Brewers Nation when this got to 6-5 in the 6th inning. Yeah, Woody just all of a sudden lost it, man. He was cruising along, but I will talk more about this a little bit later on tonight in the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
Yeah, so things not exactly going the way they were for the Brewers when they were on that 14-game winning streak. Right. They had just everything was going for Milwaukee during that streak, which is how streaks like that happen. But they've lost 6 of 9 games going into Monday. John, probably a good thing, though, don't you think, that Milwaukee is finally getting tested a little bit during that streak? Everything was roses for them, and that's just not a realistic thing to expect, especially when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah, everything was coming up Brewers for Milwaukee. But Look, the reality is this is you have to go through stuff like this, and you're not going to rattle off 14 in a row constantly. Now they hit 10, they hit 14, right? They had a couple of win streaks along the way, but coming back down to earth a little bit, I don't think that's a bad thing, especially when it gives you an opportunity to just kind of assess who you have, and is Brandon Woodruff somebody you can count on in the postseason? Obviously, he's coming back from that injury. He's been great so far since coming back from the injury. This is kind of his first real stinker. And so, again, you just kind of got to assess who you can go to in those playoff matchups, especially when it's a 5-game set, 7-game set, and you have the ability to, cycle through your starting rotation and maybe just go to 3 guys that you really trust rather than all 5 of the guys in the rotation.
Yeah, because you got Woodruff and obviously Peralta. Where does Mizrowski go into all of this? You got Quintana, who's another veteran. It's really, really good. So some decisions to be made, but being more battle tested. I hate to use every cliche in the book, but to be battle tested heading into September, I don't think it's such a bad thing for Milwaukee. Coming up, the Dodgers are home to host a Cincinnati Reds team that is still fighting for a playoff spot with their ace Hunter Green on the mound. That's next on MLB Game Night. Today's show being brought to you by FanDuel. Today is officially FanDuel Futures Day. Congratulations. We made it. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So trying to decide who you think the MVP for the season is going to be, okay? That's one way to do it. Maybe you've got a long shot division winner that you've been eyeing up. You're like, I don't think people are thinking about this team. Or maybe you're just ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off. This is going to be your moment. This is where you can shine. Bold predictions. That's what you're looking for because they're going to pay off the most at the end. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Back at it on MLB Game Night. We're going to head out to L.A., where the Cincinnati Reds are visiting the Dodgers. Reds ended up getting the win on Sunday. They continue to chant the mantra, we have not been swept. That's like the thing that they're going with right now. They're still fighting for a playoff spot, but they're taking a lot of pride in the fact that they are the only team that hasn't been swept yet this season. Dodgers sitting at the top of the NL West along with San Diego. They had that big series over the weekend, so they're tied at the top. Hunter Green on the hill for the Reds, which is normally a good thing, but this particular matchup, it did not go their way. This one was all LA. We got Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds on who on the Dodgers has just absolutely owned the Cincinnati Reds this season.
Well, Cincinnati Reds fall to 0-11 on the year whenever they score 0 runs. And Emmett Sheehan and Andy Pages own the Reds on Monday night. Emmett Sheehan loves pitching against the Reds. If the Reds are facing the Dodgers and Emmett Sheehan is on the mound, take the under on everything Reds because he absolutely dominates them anytime he pitches against them. And oh, by the way, they really helped out by playing poor baseball. Hunter Green tried, and it seemed as though he was amped up all night, pitching on adrenaline, never really found that groove. And he had a couple of innings where it seemed as though he might turn a corner. And then the very next inning, he went back to struggling a bit. And this was a tough start for him. And then the bullpen didn't quite help him out. And then the fielding didn't quite help out the bullpen. And then the lineup, I mean, they managed one more hit than they had errors on the game. Just horrible night. They're falling to 500 now. They're 11-11 in the month of August. And they've really got to get going. There's no more of this, just win the series and keep it going. They've got to hit a streak soon if they're going to catch the Mets in the wild card. But they ain't going to catch nobody playing the way they played on Monday.
Yeah, it was a tough day for the Reds. And, sometimes you have these stinkers, but like Jeff said, they're under the gun right now, man. There's not a lot of games left. You can't really afford to have these complete duds. But again, it is against the Dodgers, so it's not like they were playing some scrub that they're expected to beat up on. Emmett Sheehan, career high 10 strikeouts over 7 shutout innings to move to 5-2 on the season. Green falls to 5-4 after struggling through the 5 innings that he worked, where they only struck out 3. John, just what the Dodgers need, right? Another excellent starter. Emmett Sheehan moves to 3-0 in August with an ERA of 3.52. You've got Ohtani, you've got Snell, you got Kershaw, Glasnow, Yamamoto, and now Sheehan. Best rotation in the league on paper. What do you say?
On paper, absolutely. But as we've seen, you've lost Snell and you've lost Glasnow for a little bit this season. Kershaw, he's on the back 9, of course. Yamamoto was lights out to start the season, has had a couple of stinkers, including one against the Angels, who handed him his worst start of the season. But Sheehan was the right move, in my opinion, because he had been piggybacking a little bit off of Ohtani as Ohtani is working his way up, ramping up his innings, getting a little bit more length out of each start. It was Sheehan who would kind of follow that up, but they sent Dustin May over to the Red Sox so that Emmett Sheehan could have a slot in this rotation. Totally the right move, totally somebody that I would want in the rotation. And now that he's healthy, we're starting to see what he's capable of. The Dodgers made the right pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, Andy Pa has a big night, 2 for 3, 2 dingers, 4 RBIs, hitting that 7 hole for those guys. Just another guy coming through a big situation. So Dodgers starting to heat up a little bit as we get to September. Yankees at the Nationals. Now, the Yankees salvaged their series against the Red Sox with a win on Sunday night. They dropped 3-4 to Boston at home, though. Today, they're hosting the Nationals and hope to pick up what you would think would be an easier win. We got Brian from Locked On Yankees on how, this is a nice win, but he's still got a bad taste in his mouth from what happened over the weekend against Boston.
Yankees get a 10-5 victory in Game 1 of the series against the Washington Nationals in the Bronx. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees, and they scored 10 runs, and the offense looked really good, but they also did that against a team with the second worst ERA in all of baseball, an ERA in the 5.3s, which isn't really good, and that shows why the Washington Nationals are as bad as they are. I know after this game that we'll hear Aaron Boone talk about how good the offense is, and how this team is returning to norm, and how they're still really good. I don't want to hear any of that. We're going to discuss it all on Locked On Yankees. We have our opinions. You know the way we feel. It doesn't matter if you beat up the bad teams. You have to beat the good teams, too. Anthony Volpe will return to the lineup tomorrow after 2 days of being benched, after Aaron Boone announces that he is the full-time shortstop. Lots going on, lots to discuss. We'll be bringing it all to you on Locked On Yankees.
It was a schlit show tonight, John, as Cam
Careful
Schlittler. I know. Cam Schlittler held the Nats scoreless through 6 with 8 Ks. I picked him up in fantasy. I was the smart guy who knew better. So good stuff coming from him. They got 3 home runs from Ben Rice, who's been on fire recently, Jason Dominguez, Jazz Chisholm Jr. So a good win for the Yankees. But, as Brian said, you want to do it against the good teams, and you're just kind of making up ground because of what happened to you over the weekend by beating the Nationals, which is fine. You're supposed to beat them, but he wants to see this kind of effort and these kind of, production coming against the better teams like the Boston Red Sox, who were in Baltimore, AL East battle with Boston visiting Baltimore. Red Sox 5 back in the division. Coming into the game, we got Gabby from Locked On Red Sox, and she's talking about one of the relievers and how good this guy has been for the Bo Sox recently.
Garrett Whitlock has been unstoppable for the Boston Red Sox over the last couple months. I'm Gabby Maljanian from Locked On Red Sox as the team won 4-3 against the Baltimore Orioles in Baltimore tonight, led by home runs from Roman Anthony and also Jarren Duran on the offensive side of the ball. But the pitching also helped lock down this game, with Garrett Whitlock coming in to pitch the 8th inning with the Red Sox up 4-3, and he gave up a leadoff double to Gunnar Henderson, but then shut down the next 3 batters to close out the inning and keep it a 1-run game, with the Red Sox eventually coming out on top. The way Garrett Whitlock has been pitching the last couple months for Boston has been absolutely dominant, and if he keeps that up, this Red Sox team is going to be incredibly hard to beat. Tune into Locked On Red Sox on any podcast platform for more on Whitlock and this Red Sox win.
Yeah, Bolton for the Red Sox had to take this game tonight, basically because they have removed Walker Buehler, who has been struggling this season. Removed him from the rotation. I don't know if it's something that they're going to revisit and bring him back to it at some point. I feel like that would make sense to see if he's somebody they can trust going into the postseason if they do hang on and make it. But ERA of 5.45 on the year, not exactly what they were looking for when they signed him. Sox are now 6-4 in their last 10 and have a game on the half game over the Yankees right now and are in that top wild card spot. Orioles fall to 60 and 71 on the year. Coming up, Cal Raleigh. Boy, he just keeps mashing, doesn't he? Drops a 50 burger in the home run column. But would it be enough for the Mariners, who are hosting the Padres? We'll tell you about it next. Coming up on MLB Game Night. Today's show being brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It's time to fuel up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Flavors like grape, ginger, and lime. They're some of the favorites of our everydayers. So whether you're out on the golf course enjoying them or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It's there for you. It delivers the flavor you love and gives you the energy you need. And golfers, you know that golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. That's what this is all about too. Like if you're going to be out on the course, you got to have at least one of these in your pocket, man. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. All you got to do is buy, snap, infuse your drink. It's refreshing. It gives you that boost of energy to get you through, as I mentioned, through 18 holes, if that's what you're playing, or just, everyday life, going to the gym, cleaning up around the house, washing the car, whatever you're doing. And when you do purchase one of these, you're going to have a chance to enter and win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Back at it on MLB Game Night. A very nice matchup here. It's got a little rock and roll theme to it as well, John. Padres at the Mariners. The Eddie Vedder Cup is back in play as the Padres head up to the Pacific Northwest to face Cal Raleigh and the Seattle Mariners. For those of you who are not familiar with what this is, Eddie Vedder, it's a guitar, if I'm not mistaken. It's a guitar. Right. The winner of the series gets to have it because Eddie Vedder lived in San Diego, but obviously known for spending his time in Seattle with the band Pearl Jam. Do you have an Eddie Vedder impersonation, John, that you do when you karaoke?
I once did a birthday song for my boss at a company I was working for, and it was set to, I can't even think of the song that I was just singing it, but yeah, I totally have an Eddie Vedder impression. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
We all do. He's one of those voices that we all try to impersonate.
Even flow. It's so
unique. It's so unique. So speaking of unique, how about what Cal Raleigh's been doing this year? Set the home run record for catchers on Sunday night with the 48th and 49th home run. And he'd start this one with his 50th in his first at bat. That's right. A catcher has 50 home runs. We got Ty Gonzalez from Locked On Mariners with the details on how the M's offense seems to have found it again.
2 games, but very nice to see some consistent production out of this Mariners lineup again. This is Ty Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here. M's follow up yesterday's offensive explosion with another one tonight. They scored 11 yesterday. They scored 9 tonight against the Padres to defeat San Diego 9-6. They were down 4-1 at one point after Bryce Miller gave up a trio of home runs. We'll talk more about him on the show tomorrow. But this Mariners offense just continued to punch back and pick Miller up and then some. Cal Raleigh getting the party going with his 50th bomb of the season. He is the first catcher ever to hit 50 home runs in a single campaign. But it was Jorge Polanco who actually stole the show as far as the Mariners offense was concerned. He goes 3 for 4 tonight, triple away from the cycle, big 2-run home run, big 2-run double, also adds a single to his night. Big night for Polo, big night for this offense, which is starting to look like it's figuring things out, starting to look a bit more like that offense we saw in their first homestand together after the trade deadline. So hopefully they can keep it going, and we'll talk to you on the Locked On Mariners podcast tomorrow. See you then. Peace.
Any doubt that Cal Raleigh is the MVP in the American League, John?
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. Yeah.
I say no. Like, he's got to be. I've been saying it for months that, like, the amount of things that he has to do as a catcher, plus he just keeps clubbing home runs.
Look,
he's got to be. He's got to be, in my opinion.
If Aaron Judge could beat Shohei Ohtani and the year that Ohtani had with, the 5th place best all-time home run record, then more power to Cal Raleigh to get this one over Aaron Judge. Because I know that's going to be the debate, right? It's going to be Judge versus Raleigh in this one. But look, it's going to be how they end it. And so far, he's got about 5 weeks to go to maybe even break Aaron Judge's record. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. Speaking of what happened, how about you take me to Texas, where your Angels were visiting the Rangers? What went down, brother?
Yeah, man, if the Rangers could have just had Jacob deGrom on their team over like the last 5 years, maybe the Angels would be a very different, in a different position in the AL West, because they got to deGrom for the 3rd time this season. They handed him another L in this Angels 4-0 shutout. Zach Neto, who took the first pitch for a ride off of deGrom. First pitch of the game. First pitch right down the middle. Got him out to an early 1-0 lead. Angels got 1 more on deGrom and 2 more late in the game. One of those was a Logan O'Hoppe solo home run, his first since July 21st and his second home run since June 22nd. He's got 19 on the year, but they all came in bunches at the beginning of the season. Jose Soriano on the mound for the Angels. He's a new dad coming back with that dad strength. Pitched 5 2/3 shutout ball. The bullpen was outstanding. Very rare for the Angels to keep Corey Seager quiet, who had a 0-for-4 night with 2 strikeouts. JD, the best news, though, coming out of this game was that Angels manager Ron Washington, who was on health leave at the moment, he will not be managing the rest of the season. He was actually in the house with the Angels. Yeah, he left the team back in June with a heart issue. Won't be managing the team the rest of the year. JD had quadruple bypass surgery back in June, and he will be medically cleared to return in December. He could be back for next year. The team has an option to renew him for another year, but the best news, he's lost weight, he's eating better, and most importantly, he stopped smoking. And he said, if you see that cigarette in my hand, just smack me in the face. Don't let me have it. So good news all around for Angel fans, 4-0, and good to see Ron Washington back. We've missed him.
Yeah, welcome back, Wash. Stay healthy, buddy. We one of the good guys in the game, so we're glad to hear that things are going better for him. Pirates at the Cardinals. Pirates come in having won 4 in a row, and last time they faced each other, the Pirates swept the Cardinals. Not only did they sweep them, they embarrassed the Cardinals, shut them out 3 times in a row. It was not good. Cardinals looking for some revenge in this one. The offense has been much better recently for St. Louis. So in St. Louis, the Pirates would jump out to a 4-1 lead early after back-to-back jacks by Brian Reynolds and Spencer Horwitz in the 3rd inning. But the Cardinals would roar back, score 5 in the 5th inning with 5 consecutive 2-out hits to make it 6-4. Normally that's going to put a team away because you're like, I cannot believe that just happened to us. Not the Pirates. They just would not go away. They tied up at 6 in the 9th inning on an RBI hit by Ronnie Simon. But 2 outs in the 9th. It was Alec Burleson for the Cardinals who sent the few fans that actually showed up for this game home happy with a walk-off blast over the center field wall to give the Cardinals a 7-6 win, their 5th walk-off win on the season. Alec Burleson's first career walk-off home run. Burley goes 4 for 5, including that home run. But those weren't the only fireworks in this one. What people are going to be talking about when it comes to this game is the ejection of Wilson Contreras. Now, this happened in the 7th inning, gets called out on strikes, appears to say something, which hitters normally do when they're walking away, and maybe they don't agree with a call, and he said something, and he gets ejected. And when they pan the camera around, and he's kind of talking to the umpire, and he's in his face, and Ollie's come out there, and you can see him saying, I did not, to whatever home plate umpire Derek Thomas was accusing him of saying, which the hot mics caught him saying, he told me to F off, really. And that set Contreras off, who got in his face and then started throwing a bunch of the F-offs at him.
Did he actually say it? Yeah.
Well, there's footage where somebody in subtitles, it says it, but then there's also Wilson Contreras' word. And Ollie, after the game was over, said that he didn't see any angle that showed that Willie said that. Why would he get upset about it if he did say it? Why would he, freak out? But He goes ballistic, spikes his helmet in the direction of the umpires, threw his bat in the direction of them, which ended up hitting the hitting coach, Brant Brown, instead. So some collateral damage there by Brant Brown being in the way. Then there was a whole jug of gum that got tossed onto the field as well. It was just a wild scene. And I'm not, condoning that type of behavior. It's been a frustrating year for the Cardinals, but, nobody wants to be called a liar. So if that ended up going down the way my mind and the way I read the lips goes down, then you can see why Willie would be upset about it. And we'll see what the league has to say about it. But first walk-off homer for Burley, fifth walk-off winner for the Cardinals this season. Moving on to Cleveland, where the Rays were visiting, and Junior Camanero's had quite the season, you guys.
Man.
He used to be a Guardian. Do you remember this at all, John, that he actually got signed as a free agent by the Guardians in 2019. They trade him to the Rays in 2021 for legendary pitcher Tobias Myers. I know everybody's got his baseball cards and his jerseys in Cleveland. No, he never played a game for the big club for them, and was then sold to the Giants in 2022. Meanwhile, Junior Caminero is just turned 22 years old back in July. It is 37th home run of the season on Sunday, giving him the most ever by an American League player in their year 21 season, breaking the record previously held by Alex Rodriguez. You mentioned, the dad strength. He's got expected dad strength. It was just announced that he's expecting a daughter with his wife, which might have something to do with what just happened on Monday when he went yard not once but twice. And the Rays lopsided 9-0 win over Cleveland. Numbers 38 and 39 on the season. He's now 7 home runs shy of tying the franchise record of 46 set by Carlos Pena back in 2007. He was a one-man wrecking crew in this one. He goes 4 for 5, 2 dingers, a double, 4 runs scored, drove in 3. He's got 94 ribbies on the year. He also stole a base in this one. He was amazing. Going on to Twins at the Blue Jays. Blue Jays were back to their hot-hitting ways as they took a 10-4 win over the Twins. Max Scherzer, he's like a fine wine, John, earned his third consecutive start, pitching 6 innings. This was despite giving up a 2-run tater to Twins right fielder Matt Wallner. Joe Ryan had another stinker start, his second in a row. The Blue Jays are a ridiculous 57-3 when they score 5 or more runs this year. That's a stat to live by. So basically predicting victory every time that happens, almost unbelievable. Braves at the Marlins. Marlins were hosting the Braves with what turned out to be a good pitcher's duel between Spencer Strider for Atlanta, who has had struggles this year, against Edward Cabrera for Miami. Cabrera for the Marlins had a nice bounce-back start after giving up 11 hits and a loss to the Cardinals last week. 7 innings of 1 hit ball with 10 strikeouts. Spencer Strider was better, but Marlins closer Calvin Fauché gave up a home run to Drake Baldwin, but ended up with the save after 18 pitches. The Marlins hang on for a victory in this one by a score of 2-1. Royals at the White Sox. Last thing the Royals want to do is be shut out. The last thing they want to be shut out by is the White Sox. And Shane Smith had a hell of a night. Career high, 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs. Royals starter Noah Cameron, 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 6 earned, 2 home runs surrendered by White Sox Corey Lee, who was just called back up, and to Brooks Baldwin as well. So ended up being the White Sox taking this one, shutting out the Royals by a score of 7-0. And then a game that I was fully invested in just because of fantasy purposes. Not only do I have Tarek Skubal, but I have most of the A's starting lineup when it comes to hitters. So always fun for me to watch these. But Skubal against this lethal A's offensive attack. Who's going to budge in this one? Well, according to Sarah Langs over at MLB, Skubal leads a who's who of pitchers who have the most outings of 10-plus Ks and 0 walks over the last 125 seasons. You've got some stats for us, John. How good has Skubal been?
Yeah, Skubal's got 7 of those outings this year. Garrett Cole had 7 of those in 2019. Wheeler has 6 this year. It was Cole again in 2021. Verley in 2019 had 6. Clayton Kershaw had 6 in 2016. And then Randy Johnson back in 2004 had 6 of those appearances as well. And all the way back in 2002, Kurt Schilling, 6 appearances of 10 Ks and 0 walks. However, despite the good stats, it wasn't Tarek Skubal's night, was it, JD?
Well, he was doing just fine, and then a couple of errors by Zach McKinstry opened up the floodgates, and then it was our boy Shea Bangaliers who got to him finally and popped a grand slam against Skubal. which put the A's up 6-3. And my guy, Nick Kurtz, would add 2 more runs with a 2-run home run later on in the game. The A's go on to win this one by a score of 8-3.
6 runs, 1 earned. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, if you're schoolboy, you're like, can you guys get your gloves out of your butts and get this thing fixed? Because I was awesome and you ruined it. But either way, A's take this one. That offense, it's super fun to watch, you guys. If you haven't watched an A's game, you got to check them out. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We hope you guys will come back and visit us next time on MLB Game Night. It's every game, every night.